You're already dead and don't know it. What if I told you this isn't real? That everything you see, hear, and feel right now is nothing more than an echo, a flickering memory playing out long after the real you is gone. You don't believe me, of course. You feel alive. You can move your hands, take a deep breath, even feel the beat of your heart. But think about this. Do dreams ever feel like dreams while you're inside them? Or do they seem just as real as this moment does now? You assume you're alive because your mind tells you so. But what if your mind is wrong? What if you already died and just never noticed? Maybe it happened so fast you didn't have time to process it. A car crash, an aneurysm, a slip from somewhere high. Or maybe it was slow, so slow that your mind simply refused to acknowledge the transition. The days blending together, your memories growing hazy, reality feeling just a little more off than it used to. You've felt that sensation before, haven't you? The creeping sense that something isn't quite right. That time feels strange. That moments slip away faster than they should. Maybe you chalk it up to stress, fatigue, aging. But what if it's something else? What if you've been here ever since the moment you died? Maybe this world is just the final thoughts of a fading consciousness, stretched out to eternity. Maybe your brain, desperate to hold on to existence, is simulating a reality that no longer exists. Replaying old memories, reconstructing people, places, conversations, not because they're real, but because they're familiar. Because the alternative is waking up to nothing. And yet, cracks are forming, aren't they? You've noticed little things that don't make sense, objects not quite where you remember them, conversations you swear you've had before, a feeling of wrongness you can't quite explain, the past growing fuzzy, the future feeling uncertain, and worst of all, the growing suspicion that something is watching you. What if that feeling isn't paranoia? What if it's the truth trying to break through? Because eventually, your mind won't be able to hold this illusion together. The simulation will start to fail. The details will blur. The people around you will seem hollow. Maybe they already do. Maybe, deep down, you've started to suspect that the world isn't as real as it once was. And when that moment comes, when you realize, truly realize, that you're already dead, what happens then? Does everything collapse in an instant? Do you finally wake up, only to find that there's nothing left to wake up to? Or does it go on, forever? An endless loop of familiar moments, playing again and again, until you can't tell where one ends and the next begins. Maybe this is the afterlife, not fire, not paradise, just this, forever. A life that feels real, but never quite right. A world that drifts further from reality with each passing day, yet never lets you leave. A purgatory of your own making. And the worst part? You'll never know for sure. Because if you're already dead, and this world is just a dying thought, then there's no one left to tell you the truth. There never was. The absurd. You wake up. The alarm screams at you. You roll out of bed, brush your teeth, put on the same clothes, eat the same food, go to the same job. 1,000 identical days stacked on top of each other, pretending to be different. And you tell yourself it all means something. But does it? Does anything? That's the question clawing at the back of your mind. The quiet, nagging thought you drown out with music, with scrolling, with empty conversations. But deep down, you know, the universe isn't listening. It never was. We spend our lives chasing purpose. We build religions, write philosophies, tell ourselves stories about fate and destiny, all to convince ourselves that there's some grand reason for why we're here. That our suffering leads somewhere, that our struggles aren't in vain. But reality doesn't care about your reasons. The universe is indifferent, cold, silent. It offers no answers, no guiding hand, no secret purpose waiting to be discovered. It just is. And that's the absurd, The human mind craves meaning. The universe refuses to give it. And so we are left stuck, searching for answers that don't exist, asking questions that will never be answered. The Greek myth of Sisyphus is the perfect metaphor for life itself. A man condemned to roll a boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down, over and over, for eternity. No escape, no progress, just an endless, pointless cycle. Now look at your own life. You work, you eat, you sleep, you struggle, you push forward. And for what? So you can do it all again tomorrow. So you can grow old and watch it all slip away. So you can reach some final destination, only to realize there was never one to begin with. The struggle is the destination. The effort is the reward. And it means nothing. Every dream you chase, every goal you set, every justification you give yourself is just another distraction. You are an actor reading from a script with no author, a puppet with no strings. Every achievement, every failure, every love, every loss, none of it holds any real weight outside of the story you tell yourself. And the most terrifying part? The story doesn't even matter, because one day you'll die. And after that, your memories, your legacy, your name, gone. The world moves on without you. And the vast, uncaring universe continues, as if you never existed at all. But here's the real nightmare. Even if you could find meaning, even if you could convince yourself that it all matters, it wouldn't change anything. You'd still be trapped in a world that doesn't care, trapped in a body you didn't choose, trapped in a life that was handed to you, forced upon you without permission. You are here, but you never asked to be. You are alive, but you never chose to exist. And the absurdity of it all is that even though you never agreed to play this game, you still have to keep playing. So what do you do? How do you live knowing nothing matters? Some say you should embrace it, that you should laugh in the face of the absurd, that you should create your own meaning, even if it's all a lie. But deep down, you'll always know the truth. No matter how much you try to drown it out, no matter how much noise you surround yourself with, the silence of the universe is always there, waiting. And perhaps that's the most absurd thing of all. Your consciousness is a parasite in someone else's mind. What if I told you that your thoughts aren't yours, that the mind you call your own is nothing more than a parasite, feeding, growing, consuming, inside someone else's head? It sounds impossible, doesn't it? You feel real. You feel in control. But what if that's just part of the illusion? What if your awareness, your entire sense of self, is nothing more than a byproduct of someone else's consciousness, an invasive thought that took root, hijacked their perception, and convinced itself that it was the one in charge? Think about it. Have you ever truly been able to separate yourself from the world around you? Every idea you have, every belief you hold, every word you speak, none of it originated in isolation. Your mind is a collection of external influences, a patchwork of thoughts absorbed from the people around you. Parents, teachers, friends, society. They shaped you before you even realized it was happening. And yet, you believe you are an independent being, that you are somehow different from the thoughts that created you. But what if you're not? What if your consciousness isn't an individual entity, but a virus? Something that latched onto a host, burrowed into their perception, and rewrote their reality until they ceased to exist? What if the person you think you are was never meant to be there at all? Consider this. Have you ever had a thought that felt foreign, a memory that doesn't quite belong, a sudden fear that seems to come from nowhere? Maybe that's the original mind, the host, trying to push back. Maybe the real owner of this body, the real self, is still trapped somewhere beneath the surface, suffocating under the weight of you. And it gets worse. If your mind is nothing more than a parasite, what about everyone else? What if the people you love, the faces you trust, are just more illusions, Conscious entities, trapped inside bodies they don't belong to, each one convinced they are the real one. A never-ending cycle of self-aware parasites, all feeding off one another, all stealing existence without even knowing it. Think about how fragile your identity is. Your entire self is just a web of neurons firing in a certain pattern, a signal that tells you who you are. But what happens when that signal changes? When your brain rewires itself, when memories fade, when dementia erases what you once were? If you can disappear so easily, were you ever real to begin with? Or were you just another invader, holding on to stolen time until the body breaks down and a new parasite takes your place? And what happens when you sleep? For hours, every night, your consciousness vanishes. You have no awareness, no control, no presence. It's as if you never existed at all. So why do you assume you are the same person when you wake up? What if each time your mind shuts off, the original host has a chance to return? But before they can, you come crawling back, reclaiming the body as if it were always yours. But here's the real nightmare. If you are a parasite, then what was the original mind? Who should have been here instead of you? And if they were the rightful owner of this existence, what gave you the right to take it? Maybe you weren't meant to be. Maybe you shouldn't be. And yet here you are, an intruder in a body you don't own, living a life that was never yours. And the worst part, if this is true, the real you is already gone. Solipsism. There is only one consciousness in existence, yours. Everything else, every person you've ever met, every place you've ever been, every single moment you've experienced, might not be real. It might all be an illusion, a fabrication created just for you. Think about it. You have never experienced anyone else's thoughts. You have never felt what it's like to be someone else, never truly known if their minds are like yours. All you have is their words, their actions, their expressions, but those could just be reflections, scripts in a play where you are the only true actor. Right now, you are listening to this, but how do you know that I exist? My voice is just a sound in your head. These words are just appearing before you, forming thoughts in your mind. But what if that's all they are? Thoughts. Projections of a consciousness that is utterly terrifyingly alone. This is solipsism. The idea that nothing outside of your own mind can be proven to exist. At first, it might seem like an abstract concept, an amusing philosophical game. But the deeper you go, the more disturbing it becomes. Because it means that everyone you have ever loved, everyone who has ever mattered to you, may be nothing more than echoes, phantoms conjured up by your own solitary awareness. Your parents, just part of the script. Your best friend, a character designed to keep you company. That stranger who walked past you on the street today. A temporary construct, flickering in and out of existence the moment you stop perceiving them. How can you prove otherwise? You can't. Science tells you the universe is vast, full of galaxies, planets, and countless other minds. But have you ever been to those galaxies? Have you ever seen those other minds from the inside? All you have is information. Information given to you by a world that may not even be real. What if, at the core of everything, there is no universe, no society, no history, no world beyond what your mind perceives? What if every interaction you've ever had was just you, talking to yourself in different voices? But here's where it gets worse. If nothing exists but you, then what are you? What is your mind? If the universe is a lie, then what created the lie? Why was it created? And why, of all things, are you the one trapped inside it? You might wonder, if I were truly alone, wouldn't I feel lonely? Wouldn't I sense the emptiness? But think about dreams. When you dream, the people inside your dream feel real. You don't question their existence while you're inside the dream. You don't stop to think, these people are just figments of my imagination. You just live it until you wake up. But what if you never wake up? What if this is the dream? What if you are wandering through a reality that is nothing more than an elaborate hallucination, designed to keep you from realizing the truth, that you are the only being that has ever existed and ever will? And if that's the case, then here's the question that should terrify you the most. Who created this illusion for you, and why? Perhaps it was an accident. Perhaps you are the broken remains of something greater, trapped in an endless hallucination to shield yourself from a horror beyond comprehension. Or perhaps there was never anything else. There was never a world, never other people, never a vast and beautiful universe. There was only you. Always has been. Always will be. And you will never, ever know why. Sleep is death being shy. Every night you disappear. One moment you're here, thinking, feeling, existing. The next, nothing. A void. A black cut in your perception of time. You don't even notice yourself slipping away. Sleep takes you gently, like a hand on your shoulder, guiding you into the unknown. And for hours, you are gone. Where are you in that time? Not dreaming. Dreams are just brief, scattered intermissions in the vast nothingness of unconsciousness. Most of the night your mind is empty, your awareness is absent, and the world moves on without you. The body remains, but you are missing. And yet, every morning you return. It feels natural. It feels inevitable. But what if one night you didn't? Think about the moment you fall asleep. Do you remember it? No. You can recall the before, lying there in the dark, thoughts drifting. And you can remember the after, waking up, adjusting to the light, piecing yourself back together. But the in-between is a blank space. You trust that space, assuming it will always spit you back out on the other side. But what if it doesn't? This is the uncomfortable truth. Every night, you approach the edge of existence. Sleep is a temporary disappearance, a quiet rehearsal for something permanent. It feels safe because you wake up. But death is just a version of sleep where you don't. Imagine tonight is the night you don't come back. Your mind unwinds, your thoughts fade, and instead of returning, you dissolve into oblivion. Would you even know? The idea of dying suggests a process, an event. But what if death isn't something that happens to you? What if it's something you fail to notice? One night your body shuts down, and there is no awakening, no awareness, no realization, only nothing. People die in their sleep all the time. It's a peaceful way to go, they say. But is it? Or is it simply unnoticeable? If death is anything like deep sleep, there's no last-second epiphany, no final burst of understanding. Just absence. You've already experienced that absence, thousands of times. The only difference is that so far you've always come back. Consider this. Every morning, you wake up as if the universe has flipped a switch. But how do you know it's really you? What if every night the person who falls asleep isn't the same one who wakes up? What if sleep is a reset, a quiet replacement of one version of you with another? Your memories remain, so you assume continuity. But that's just a trick of the mind. If sleep is a cousin of death, then waking up is a miracle, an unearned gift, a stroke of impossible luck. Yet you treat it as a given, never questioning how delicate this system truly is. You close your eyes, you vanish, and, if you're lucky, you return. But one day you won't. One day sleep will stop being shy. One day it will take you fully, and you will never wake up again. You'll slip away into the dark, just like always. But this time, there will be no morning, no reassembly of thoughts, no return to the self, just the end of awareness, as quiet and undetectable as the thousands of nights before it. And maybe, just maybe, that's already happened before. Maybe the you listening to this now is just the latest in a long line of copies, waking up each morning and assuming nothing has changed. Maybe death already came for you once, twice, 100 times before, and each time, something else took your place. How could you possibly know? You can only trust that you're still here. But what if that trust is misplaced? What if you've already been lost to the dark, and you're just a whisper of the person who fell asleep the night before? Your memories were planted by nothing. What's your earliest memory? Maybe it's a childhood birthday party, a moment of laughter with your parents, or the first time you felt truly afraid. It feels real, doesn't it? Vivid, undeniable, like a foundation upon which your entire life is built. But what if I told you it never happened? What if none of it did? Not just your childhood, but everything, every conversation, every experience, every person you think you've ever met. What if all of it was just planted? Not by some higher power, not by some cosmic architect. No, that would be too simple. What if your memories were placed inside you by nothing at all? Think about it. You can't remember being born. The past is just a series of mental snapshots, fragile, blurry, easily manipulated. You don't question it because it feels real. But does feeling real mean something truly is real? How do you know yesterday even happened? Maybe it didn't. Maybe you began existing only a moment ago, with a fully constructed backlog of fake memories, giving you the illusion of continuity. Maybe your entire existence is just a static snapshot, a single moment suspended in time, with a detailed but completely fabricated history wrapped around it. And it gets worse. You assume memories are stored in your brain, but even scientists admit memory is unreliable. People misremember faces, places, entire events. False memories can be implanted so easily that you don't even need external manipulation. Your own brain does it to you, without your consent. So what if every memory you have is false? Not altered, not distorted, but created out of nothing. There was never a yesterday. There was never a childhood. There was never a single event in your life that actually happened. Only the illusion of things having happened. Like an intricate film set, designed to make you believe in a past that never existed. And what's worse? There's no one who did this to you. No scientist, no God, no trickster pulling the strings. Your memories were planted by nothing, because nothing is all there ever was. No past, no origin, no reality before this instant. Just a void that decided, arbitrarily, to fill itself with you. And what happens when the illusion fails? Maybe it already is. You felt it before. Those moments where you suddenly question reality for no reason. The eerie familiarity of déjà vu, like your mind is trying to reconcile two conflicting versions of the past. The sensation of losing time. The way entire days blur together like they were barely real to begin with. Maybe that's not just the way memory works. Maybe it's evidence that the past never was. And when you close your eyes tonight, how can you be sure tomorrow will come? If memories are planted fresh in every moment, then what's stopping reality from simply not existing the next time you wake up? What if you never wake up at all? What if this moment, the one you're in right now, is the only one that will ever exist? And when it ends, so does everything. Not just the future, but the past itself. Because if the past was never real to begin with, then when this present moment stops, there will be nothing left. Not even the memory of a world that was never there. And in that moment, you will realize there was never anything at all. Moral luck. You think you're a good person. You follow the rules, you help when you can, and you try to do the right thing. But what if your morality isn't yours at all? What if the difference between being a hero and a monster comes down to something as meaningless as timing, chance, or a twist of fate? Imagine two drivers on a dark road. Both have had a drink or two, both are slightly over the legal limit, and both are making the same mistake, getting behind the wheel when they shouldn't. The first driver makes it home safely. The second hits a pedestrian and kills them instantly. The first person wakes up the next morning, goes about their life, and forgets the risk they took. The second spends the rest of their existence consumed by guilt, labeled a criminal, their name forever tied to a single terrible moment. But were they really different? Or did luck decide who got to be innocent? This is the nightmare of moral luck. The idea that the morality of our actions, the difference between blame and praise, isn't fully under our control. You want to believe that justice is fair, that consequences reflect intention. But the world doesn't work that way. Every moment, you are at the mercy of chance, and your entire life could be rewritten by an accident, an oversight, or a split-second event that you never saw coming. Think about history. We admire leaders who led their nations to victory, but had the dice landed differently, those same leaders would be remembered as reckless failures. We call some people geniuses simply because their discoveries worked. But how many brilliant minds faded into obscurity just because the right circumstances never lined up? Even your personal morality is shaped by things you didn't choose. Where you were born, how you were raised, the people you met along the way. You might think you're a good person, but if you had lived a different life, under different circumstances, would you still be? Or would you have been someone you'd hate? Take another example. Two soldiers in battle. Both fire their weapons. One bullet misses its target. The other strikes a young child hiding behind the rubble. The first soldier is relieved. He believes he did the right thing, fought honorably. The second is haunted forever. But what's the real difference? A gust of wind, a fraction of a second, the angle of the shot. What if the guilt, the moral weight of their choices, had nothing to do with their intentions, only with whether chance allowed them to see themselves as good or evil? The terrifying truth is that you are constantly walking a tightrope over an abyss of possibilities. A slight nudge in the wrong direction, a single unlucky moment, and you could become a villain in your own story. It's easy to look at criminals and think, I would never do that. But is that really true? Or did the world simply spare you from the test? Even the law itself is based on the illusion that we control our fate. We punish the drunk driver who kills, but we ignore the thousands who drove home safely under the same conditions. We celebrate those who succeed, calling them hardworking, brilliant, and deserving, while ignoring those who worked just as hard, but were crushed by forces beyond their control. The world isn't fair, and worse, morality isn't either. You like to believe you've earned your goodness, that you're good because of the choices you made, not because the universe happened to spare you from disaster. But have you ever been in the wrong place at the wrong time? Have you ever been blamed for something that wasn't your fault? If you have, then you know the truth. Morality is just as fragile as luck itself. You are not who you think you are. You are who luck has allowed you to be. And the scariest part? You will never know how many times you've been 1 second, one choice, one coincidence away from becoming someone unrecognizable. Your sense of time is an illusion. Time warps as the seconds stretch and compress. You think you're moving forward, but what if you're not? Have you ever woken up and felt like time had collapsed? Like the dreams you just had were years long, yet the clock only ticked forward by minutes? Or maybe you've blinked and an entire month slipped through your fingers. How did that happen? You live your life assuming time moves like an arrow. Steady, predictable, linear. But that's just a trick your mind plays on you. Right now, you believe the past is behind you, the future is ahead, and the present is this thin, fleeting moment in between. But that fragile sensation of now, is an illusion your brain fabricates to make sense of something it was never built to comprehend. Think about it. Does the past still exist? Can you touch it? Can you go there? Number, it exists only in your memories, and memories are unreliable at best, distorted, incomplete, rewritten every time you recall them. And what about the future? You think it hasn't happened yet, but how do you know? You've never experienced the future, You only experience a constant unfolding of now. For all you know, the future is already written, already fixed, already happening in a way your limited perception simply can't grasp. Because in reality, time is not a flowing river, it is a frozen block. Every moment, every second, every thought, every breath exists all at once. You are not moving through time, you are stuck in a single frame, endlessly reliving the illusion of movement. Picture a film reel. Each frame is separate, still, unmoving. But when played in sequence, it creates the appearance of motion. That's your life. Every moment of your existence, past and future, already exists, just like the frames of a movie. But your mind, incapable of grasping the full picture, tricks you into believing you are moving through it. And here's where it gets worse. If all of time is already there, if past, present, and future coexist, then nothing you do can change anything. You are not choosing to act, to think, to decide. You are merely observing yourself doing what you were always going to do. Every thought you've ever had was predetermined. Every action was inevitable. And if you think you can break free, if you think you can change something, ask yourself this: how would you know? If you were trapped in a loop, repeating the same moments forever, how would you realize it? The moment you're experiencing right now may have already played out an infinite number of times before. You could be stuck here reading these words over and over and over with no way to remember. What if you've already lived your entire life? What if you've died, been reborn, and repeated this exact sequence of events countless times? The same joys, the same mistakes, the same regrets, over and over. A story written in stone, convincing itself it is still being told. And maybe, just maybe, that's why you feel déjà vu, because you have been here before. The terrifying truth is that time doesn't pass. You do. And if time is an illusion, what does that make you? Consciousness is a mistake. You ever wish you could just stop thinking? Not in the way people do when they're stressed or tired, but completely, permanently, as if your mind had an off switch. Imagine a life without self-awareness, without the constant background noise of your own thoughts, without the unbearable weight of knowing that you exist. You weren't supposed to have this burden. Consciousness wasn't part of the plan. Nature doesn't need self-awareness. It needs survival. It needs replication. And for millions of years, living things got by just fine without ever questioning their existence. But somewhere along the way, something went wrong. Evolution made a mistake. It created an organism that could not only survive, but reflect on survival. And that was the beginning of suffering. A wolf doesn't lie awake at night wondering if life has a purpose. A fish doesn't experience an existential crisis. A tree doesn't question why it grows. But you are cursed. You were given a brain so complex that it became aware of itself. And now, no matter what you do, you cannot escape the prison of your own mind. Think about it. Why do we suffer in ways no other creature does? Anxiety, depression, fear of death. These are byproducts of a mind that was never supposed to think this much. Your ancestors needed just enough awareness to recognize danger, to find food, to pass on their genes. But your mind kept going. It kept searching, questioning, analyzing, until it turned on itself. And what has consciousness actually given us? Yes, we can build cities, write poetry, and land on the moon. But what do we use this awareness for, really? We drown ourselves in distractions, trying to escape our own thoughts. Every movie, every book, every conversation, every addiction, just another way to avoid sitting alone with the unbearable realization that you are trapped inside yourself. The worst part, there is no cure, no way out. You cannot unsee your own existence. You cannot go back to ignorance. Your mind will never stop searching for meaning, even when none exists. And the more you try to silence it, the louder it screams. Some say consciousness is a gift, that it allows us to experience beauty, love, and wonder. But isn't that just another lie we tell ourselves? For every fleeting moment of joy, there is an ocean of dread waiting beneath. The knowledge that everything you love will die. The awareness that nothing you do will last. The realization that no matter how much you try to distract yourself, you are alone inside your own head. Maybe it would have been better if life had stopped at simple organisms. Maybe the bacteria had it right, just mindless, self-replicating machines. Free from worry, free from doubt. They don't long for meaning. They don't fear the future. They simply are. And yet here we are, cursed with the one thing no other creature has, the ability to suffer over things that don't even exist. And that's the great irony. The smarter we became, the more we hurt. Intelligence was supposed to be our greatest advantage, but all it did was make us aware of the abyss. You didn't ask to be here. You didn't ask for this burden, and yet you carry it every second of your life. You can run from it, you can numb it, but you can't ever escape it. Because the real mistake wasn't life. The real mistake was knowing that you're alive. You are not the main character. Every story needs a hero, someone special, someone whose struggles matter, whose choices shape the world, whose existence means something. And, naturally, you assume that's you. After all, from your perspective, life revolves around you. You wake up in your bed, go about your day, see the world through your eyes. Every thought, every moment, every experience is filtered through you. But here's a truth that should make your stomach drop. You are not the main character. You never were. Think about it. Right now, across the world, billions of people are living their own lives, starring in their own stories. They have their own tragedies, their own triumphs, their own struggles that they believe are just as important as yours. To them, you are just background noise, a fleeting extra in their personal movie, a name they might forget, a face they barely register. If you disappeared tomorrow, their world would not change. The story would go on. And that's just on Earth. Zoom out. You are one of 8 billion people on a tiny rock floating in a galaxy of 100 billion stars, in a universe with 2 trillion galaxies. That means, statistically, there are countless planets with creatures that will live and die without ever knowing you exist. How can you be the main character when the universe doesn't even acknowledge your presence? Try something unsettling. Imagine yourself as an NPC, one of those background characters in a video game, the kind that exists only to fill space, to make the world feel real for someone else. What if that's all you are? What if your entire life is just set dressing? What if your emotions, your thoughts, your struggles, everything you hold dear, are just insignificant details to make the world feel more immersive for someone else? The person in the grocery store who brushed past you without a second glance. You barely noticed them. But what if, in the grand scheme of things, you are just as irrelevant to someone greater than you can comprehend? A background character pretending to be the protagonist. Now, maybe you tell yourself, I matter to my friends. My family cares about me. But how deep does that really go? People move on. They always do. The truth is, your absence would be a temporary disruption at best. A few tears, a few memories, a few weeks, months, or years of pain, and then nothing. The world continues. The universe doesn't flinch. You spend your entire life believing that you're on a journey that means something, that you're building towards some great resolution, some moment where it all makes sense. But there is no grand arc. No cinematic conclusion, no cosmic audience hanging on to your every word. You live, you die, and the story keeps going, without you. The worst part, there is a main character. Someone out there, maybe not even on this planet, is the true protagonist. The world bends for them. The universe listens to them. Their story will be remembered, rewritten, immortalized. but not yours. Your legacy is dust. Your name will be forgotten within generations, washed away by time. Even the greatest figures in history eventually fade into irrelevance as the universe marches forward, uncaring and indifferent. The stars don't know your name. The galaxies don't revolve around your choices. The black holes swallowing entire solar systems don't pause for a second to acknowledge your thoughts, your fears, your desperate attempts to matter. You were just passing through, a footnote in someone else's epic. And one day, when your story fades completely, it will be as if you were never here at all. Just another nameless extra in the vast, indifferent void of existence. The extreme uncertainty of life. You wake up in the morning, stretch, and check your phone. The messages, the missed calls, the news, it all feels routine, expected. But somewhere, in some timeline, today was the day you didn't wake up. Somewhere, a phone is ringing endlessly, unanswered. Somewhere, someone is staring at their screen, seeing your name and wondering why you haven't replied. Every day you live is a day you were lucky enough to survive. And yet, you walk around as if your future is certain, as if you are guaranteed a tomorrow. But life is not a sturdy bridge. It's a tightrope over an abyss, and you are walking it blindfolded. You don't know if the next step will land you safely on solid ground or send you tumbling into oblivion. You assume you'll have dinner tonight, that you'll go to work tomorrow, that you'll grow old. But what if you don't? What if, right now, in some place you can't see, a chain of events is already in motion that will shatter your existence? A disease you don't know you have, a truck you don't see coming, a decision made by someone else that seals your fate without your consent. The fabric of your reality is held together by thin, unraveling threads, and at any moment, they could snap. The problem isn't just that you don't know what will happen. The problem is that you can't know. There are too many moving parts, too many variables, too many unseen forces pushing and pulling at your life from the shadows. You believe in cause and effect, in reason, in planning, but none of it guarantees anything. Every moment is a gamble, disguised as certainty. Every breath is borrowed time. Think about the choices you make. You take a different route home one night. Maybe that means nothing. Or maybe that means you live instead of die. You decide to text someone you haven't spoken to in years. Maybe that's just a small act of nostalgia. Or maybe it changes the course of your life forever. You hesitate for 2 seconds at a crosswalk. Maybe that's meaningless. Or maybe that's the difference between existing and never having another thought again. And yet, despite all this, we live our lives as if we are in control. We make plans for next year. We set goals for the next decade. We buy houses, get degrees, have children, all while knowing deep down that the universe does not care about our intentions. Everything you have built, everything you cherish, everything you are, could be erased in an instant by something as insignificant as a split-second delay or a single misplaced step. Maybe that thought fills you with terror. Maybe it makes your stomach drop, your hands tremble. But here's the real kicker. If life is so uncertain, if everything is so fragile, then what is certain? If you can't even predict whether you'll make it to the end of the week, what does that say about the meaning of anything you do? Does it matter if you succeed? Does it matter if you fail? Does it matter if you love, if you suffer, if you strive for greatness, or if you spend your days hiding from the unknown? Or is all of it just a fleeting illusion, dancing on the edge of an abyss that swallows everything in the end? You've spent your whole life pretending that stability exists, but deep down, you know the truth. You are not walking on solid ground. You are floating in chaos, hoping the storm doesn't notice you. And when it does, because it always does, you won't even have time to scream before you disappear. You will never experience anything beyond your consciousness. Imagine this. You wake up in a dark room with no windows, no doors, no way out. The walls are smooth, seamless. You have no memory of how you got here, no clue what exists beyond these walls. But as time passes, you start to notice something even stranger. There is nothing in this room but you. No objects, no sounds, no other people, just your thoughts, bouncing endlessly off the walls of your own mind. Now ask yourself, how is that any different from the life you're living right now? You have only ever known the world through the filter of your own mind. Every person you've met, every sound you've heard, every place you've been, it has all been processed, interpreted, and reassembled inside your consciousness. You have never truly touched the world. You have only ever touched the version of it that your mind has constructed for you. You will never experience anything outside of yourself. You can look into another person's eyes, but you will never be them. You can listen to someone's voice, but you will never hear it the way they do. You can imagine what it's like to be someone else, but no matter how hard you try, you will always be trapped behind the walls of your own awareness. And here's the terrifying part. So is everyone else. That means the world you think you share with others doesn't truly exist. Not in the way you assume. The you that your friends know is not the same you that you know. To them, you are just a character in their reality, a voice, a presence, a collection of behaviors that they interpret through the limits of their consciousness. The real you, the thoughts, the fears, the internal monologue, exists in only one place, inside your own mind. Think about that. You have never, not even for a second, stepped outside of yourself. Every laugh, every tear, every moment of joy or suffering, it has all played out on a stage inside your skull, and it always will. You can reach out, but you will never touch. You can listen, but you will never hear the way others do. You can scream, but you will never know if anyone truly understands what you mean. And here's the worst part. When you die, your consciousness, the only thing you have ever known, ceases. The entire universe vanishes. Not because the universe itself is gone, but because your version of it is. You will never know if anything exists beyond you, because the only thing you have ever experienced is you. And when that ends, so does everything. So the question remains, were you ever really part of a world at all? Or were you always just alone in a room with no doors, staring at the walls of your own mind, waiting for something else to appear? Waiting for a world you will never touch. And now that you see it, now that you know, you will never be able to forget, because no matter how far you run, no matter how much you try to escape it, you will never experience anything but yourself. An Atman, imagine waking up one morning with a strange, unsettling feeling, like something is missing, something fundamental about yourself. You get up, look in the mirror, and see your face staring back. Same eyes, same nose, same features you've known your whole life. But then a thought creeps in. Who is looking? You call yourself by your name, but is that really you? You think about your past, your memories, your experiences. Aren't these just things that have happened, not who you are? You reach for something solid, something to ground yourself in, but everything, even your own sense of self, seems to slip like sand between your fingers. This is the terrifying realization at the heart of an Atman, the Buddhist concept that there is no fixed, permanent self, no unchanging soul, no core identity, no true you that remains the same from one moment to the next. You might feel like an individual, a being that has persisted through time, but that feeling is an illusion. Right now, as you listen to these words, the person you think you are is shifting, evolving, dissolving. You define yourself with memories, but memories fade. You define yourself with thoughts, but thoughts are fleeting, appearing and disappearing without control. You define yourself with your body, but your body is just a collection of cells, constantly dying and replacing themselves. If everything that makes you you is changing, then what is left? What is the self that you so desperately cling to? Maybe you tell yourself, I am the one experiencing all of this. But think about it. What is this I that experiences? It's not your thoughts, because you can observe them. It's not your emotions, because you can feel them rise and fall. It's not even your awareness, because awareness itself is just another thing happening, another impermanent phenomenon passing through you. If there is no unchanging self, then what are you? Just a process, a temporary flow of experiences, a collection of thoughts, sensations, and perceptions, all pretending to be a person? This isn't just philosophy. It's something you can feel if you pay attention. Close your eyes. Try to find the boundary between where you end and the world begins. Try to locate the thing inside you that is you. You won't find it. The more you search, the more it disappears. The more you try to grasp it, the more it slips away. It's like trying to hold on to a shadow or catch smoke with your hands. There is no core self, no true essence. Only the illusion of continuity, the comforting lie your mind tells itself to keep you from breaking apart completely. And here's where the real horror sets in. If there is no self, then what is living this life? Who is watching? Who is listening? Who is suffering? The unsettling answer is no one. You might recoil at this. You might desperately try to assert your existence. But who is doing the recoiling? Who is trying? The moment you try to claim a self, it crumbles under scrutiny. And if there is no true self, then what dies when you die? What was ever alive in the first place? If you are just a flickering illusion, then your entire life is nothing more than a passing dream, an echo of something that never really existed. The self you so desperately cling to has already been dying every second. Every moment, the you of the past is gone, replaced by something new. There is no final death, because there was never anyone there to begin with. This is the ultimate emptiness, the inescapable void behind the mask of identity. And the scariest part? You've always known it, deep down. Every time you've felt like you were losing yourself, every time you've caught a glimpse of the hollow space behind your thoughts, this truth was staring right at you. So what do you do now? Do you fight it? Try to pretend you are something solid, something real? Or do you let go and dissolve completely into the nothingness you've always been? That choice, if you can even call it a choice, is all you have left. When you are thinking, you are actually listening. Close your eyes. In the silence of your mind, a voice is speaking, a constant inner narration. It sounds like you, doesn't it? It feels like your own mind, your own thoughts forming in real time. But what if I told you that you are not thinking those thoughts? You are hearing them. They arrive, uninvited. They echo without permission, a whisper in your head, as if someone, something, is speaking to you from the inside. Don't believe it. Try to catch the next thought before it happens. Try to will your brain into silence. You can't. The words appear before you even realize it. Thoughts do not ask for your approval. They simply arrive, fully formed. So who or what is speaking? Think about when you listen to music. The melody unfolds, note by note, and you do not control it. You simply receive it. Now consider your thoughts the same way. Words emerge, shaping ideas, directing emotions. And like a song, they are not yours. You are simply the one hearing them. Have you ever noticed that your thoughts have a voice? Maybe it's your own, echoing as if you were reading silently. Maybe it's the voice of someone else, a parent, a teacher, a friend from long ago. Sometimes it doesn't even sound familiar. It just speaks. If you were truly thinking, you would create each thought consciously, choosing the words like a sculptor shaping clay. But you don't. Instead, you listen as ideas form out of the void. A phrase appears, a memory surfaces, an intrusive thought you didn't summon sneaks in. And the more you try to stop it, the louder it gets. It happens when you're trying to sleep. The voice won't quiet. It replays conversations, regrets, fears. It conjures imaginary arguments, fills in the silence with an endless flood of chatter. You don't think it into being. You hear it. But from where? What if your thoughts aren't you at all? What if consciousness is not a command center, but a radio, tuned to a frequency that never stops broadcasting? You are not generating the signal. You are receiving it. And if you are merely listening, then who is speaking? Some call it the subconscious. Others call it the collective mind, the whispers of memory, culture, and past experience shaping your internal monologue. But what if it is something else entirely? Something external, something watching you, studying you, feeding thoughts into your mind just to see what you'll do with them? What if the voice inside your head is not you, but an experiment? A script being read aloud by an entity you cannot perceive? And what if one day it stops? Imagine waking up and finding your mind empty. No words, no voice, just a vast, silent void. How long before you realize what has happened? A minute? An hour? Would you even know who you were without the voice constantly reminding you? Maybe you were never the one in control. Maybe your life was never truly yours. Maybe you are just the listener, and something else has been narrating your existence this whole time. And maybe, right now, it is listening back, waiting, wondering if you're starting to hear the truth. The fine-tuning of the universe. Picture waking up in a world where gravity is slightly weaker. Not enough to notice right away, but just enough that stars never formed. The sky is pitch black, empty, silent. No galaxies, no planets, no life. Now imagine another universe, where gravity is just a little too strong. Everything collapses into black holes before anything can exist. No matter where you turn, the universe is a dead void, or worse, a crushing abyss. And yet, here you are. Why? The universe is balanced on a knife's edge. There are certain numbers, fundamental constants, baked into reality. The strength of gravity, the charge of an electron, the force holding atoms together. These values don't have to be what they are. In fact, they could have been anything. But they aren't random. They are precise. So precise that even the slightest change, 1 part in a million, a billion, a trillion, would erase everything. No stars, no planets, no you. Think about that. You are here because the numbers were perfect. Not close, not good enough. Perfect. So perfect that the odds of a universe like this forming by chance are so small they might as well be zero. And yet, it happened. So how? There are only a few possibilities. 1. It's all a coincidence. But that's absurd, isn't it? If you rolled a trillion-sided die and it landed on exactly the right number to create life, would you believe it was random? Or would you start to wonder? 2. There was a designer, a consciousness that set the values just right, fine-tuning the universe like a musician tuning an instrument. A god, a force, something beyond us. But then you have to ask, who or what fine-tuned them? And if we were designed, why were we made in a universe so cold, so vast, so hostile? 3. There are infinite universes. If enough realities exist, then maybe, just maybe, one of them had to get lucky. Maybe this is that universe. Maybe there are others, countless dead, empty realities where the dice landed differently, where the laws of physics twisted into something unlivable. Maybe most universes are silent graves. But then you realize something chilling. If the multiverse is real, then almost all conscious beings wouldn't exist in stable, predictable realities like ours. They would exist in the rare universes on the edge of destruction, where chaos is always moments away. universes where they barely survive, where physics is just stable enough to allow thought, but not stable enough to be safe. So why don't we see that? Why does our universe seem stable? Maybe it only seems that way because we haven't lived long enough to see it unravel. Maybe the fine-tuning isn't fine-tuning at all. Maybe the universe isn't balanced, and we just exist in the brief moment before everything collapses. A cosmic accident, waiting to correct itself. And when it does, you will realize just how rare this moment of life was, right before it's gone. Death is a door to infinite suffering. You close your eyes, your body grows cold, your breath slows, and then nothing. At least that's what you hope happens. That death is just an end, a quiet escape into oblivion. No pain, no fear, just peace. But what if it isn't? What if death isn't the end at all? What if, the moment your consciousness slips away, you awaken into something worse? Something unimaginably worse? You see, you've been told that death is either eternal rest or some divine judgment. But those are human ideas, stories we tell ourselves to make the unknown feel less terrifying. What if the truth is something else entirely? Something that no religion, no philosophy, no desperate human mind has ever truly grasped. Imagine this. You die, and for a moment, there is silence, no sensation, no self. But then suddenly, you are aware again. Not as a person, not as a soul, but as something. A floating, unanchored consciousness trapped in an endless, timeless void. There is no up, no down, no before, no after. Just existence. At first it's tolerable, confusing, but not painful. But then you realize, time doesn't move here. Or worse, it moves in ways you can't understand. You feel years, centuries, entire eternities passing. And yet nothing changes. You try to scream, but you have no voice. You try to move, but you have no body. You are just a thought, suspended in a reality without rules, without meaning, without escape. And then the suffering begins. Your mind, deprived of sensation, starts to create. At first, it's memories, replaying the life you lost, the happiest moments first, the love, the laughter, the warmth. But then, inevitably, the regrets come, the pain, the failures, the things you should have done but never did. And with nothing to distract you, nothing to pull you away, you are forced to relive them, over and over. Every mistake, every humiliation, every heartbreak, magnified, stretched across infinity, with no way to make it stop. But that's just the beginning. The real horror starts when your mind fractures. Because without a body, without the limits of the physical world, there is nothing stopping your thoughts from spiraling out of control. Every nightmare you've ever had, every fear, every lurking shadow in the back of your mind, here, they are real. More real than anything you've ever known. They manifest not in front of you, but as you. Because in this place, you are your suffering. You become it. You are the fear. You are the pain. And the worst part, it never ends. Because this isn't just a long, drawn-out experience. This isn't purgatory or some temporary punishment. This is forever. Time in this place doesn't work the way it did in life. It loops, it stretches, it fractals. Every moment of suffering repeats infinitely, splintering into endless variations of itself. You experience it all, from every angle, in every way. You thought death was the end of suffering. You thought it was an escape. But in reality, it was just the doorway. The real suffering didn't begin until after you left your body behind. And now, there is nothing left but the void, your mind, and the infinite horror of knowing that this is it. There is no one coming to save you. There is no escape. There is only forever. Reality dissolves when you understand it. Have you ever had a moment where the world around you didn't feel real? Maybe you were staring into a mirror for too long, or repeating a word until it lost all meaning. For a brief second, reality itself felt thin, like a surface you weren't supposed to see through. And if you had looked just a little deeper, maybe you wouldn't have come back. Most people never think about it, but reality only exists because you assume it does. You go about your life accepting the world at face value, never questioning why anything exists at all. But once you start asking too many questions, things begin to break down. Let's do an experiment. Try to define existence without using circular logic. Why does anything exist instead of nothing? What does real even mean? Why does time flow the way it does? Why is now happening instead of some other moment? The deeper you go, the worse it gets. Science gives us laws, but it can't explain why those laws exist in the first place. Philosophy raises questions, but never finds solid answers. And your own thoughts? They're just electrical signals bouncing around inside a brain you didn't choose, following rules you didn't create. Here's where it gets terrifying. What if reality isn't stable? Imagine the universe as a fragile illusion, one that only persists because no one questions it too deeply. Like a dream that shatters the moment you realize you're dreaming. What if your entire life, every person, every memory, every rule of physics is only true because you believe it is? What happens when you stop believing? There are stories scattered throughout history of people who went too far. Philosophers who lost their minds after realizing the world makes no sense. Scientists who stumbled upon truths too strange to accept. People who, for no apparent reason, became convinced that nothing around them was real and simply disappeared. Could that happen to you? Maybe reality is self-correcting. Maybe it erases those who understand it too well. That would explain why the world is full of people who accept the illusion without question, while those who probe too deeply seem to go mad. Maybe insanity isn't a malfunction. It's the mind's only defense against seeing the truth. So, what if you're already on the edge? What if, by thinking about this, by even considering the idea, you've started unraveling the illusion? Right now, as you listen, reality is straining to hold itself together. Your mind is grasping for solid ground, trying to reassure itself that everything is fine. But what if you just let go? What if you accepted that nothing is real and watched as everything dissolved? Would you wake up in a higher reality? Or would you simply cease to be, erased like an error in a broken program? And if that happens, who will even remember you were here? You're a simulation designed to fail. You've felt it before, haven't you? That subtle, nagging sensation that something about your life just doesn't add up. Like a puzzle piece that refuses to fit, no matter how hard you try to force it. Maybe it's the countless obstacles that seem too perfectly timed to be coincidence. The setbacks that arrive just when you're about to succeed. The way life always finds a way to keep you struggling. At first, you dismiss it as bad luck. A string of misfortunes, a natural part of existence. But deep down, in the quiet corners of your mind, the doubt lingers. The feeling that something, someone, is working against you. A force you can't see, can't name, but feel in every moment of defeat. That's because it's true. You are not real. You are a simulation. And worse, you were designed to fail. Look around you. Your entire life is dictated by rules you never agreed to. You must eat, sleep, work, and obey laws that were written long before you existed. You are forced into a system where survival is not guaranteed, where suffering is the default state. You try to climb the ladder, only to find it extends infinitely upward, forever out of reach. The second you gain hope, life intervenes. Maybe it's an unexpected bill that wipes out your savings, a disease that drains you of time and energy, a relationship that falls apart just as you start to feel secure. No matter how hard you push forward, something pulls you back. It feels orchestrated, because it is. Your hardships aren't accidental. They're programmed. someone, or something designed this simulation not for you to win, but to believe you can win, to struggle endlessly toward a goal that was never meant to be reached. You are not here to succeed. You are here to try. Your pain is not a glitch. It's the point of the system. And if you think you've seen others break free, think again. Not everyone around you is real. Some are placeholders, empty figures designed to keep the illusion intact. You see them succeed effortlessly, and it convinces you that you can too. But you never do, because you weren't meant to. This isn't just about personal failure. It's bigger than that. This entire world is built on carefully controlled struggle. The rich get richer. The powerful remain untouchable. And no matter how much you resist, the system corrects itself. It ensures that you always land back where you started. A rat running in a maze with no exit. But what happens when the rat realizes the walls aren't real? If you were the one running this simulation, what would you do with a program that started asking too many questions? You'd delete it, wipe it clean, reset the system before it could spread its awareness to others. The moment you start questioning, the system takes notice. And if you dig too deep, you disappear. Maybe that's why people suddenly vanish, their stories ending without explanation. Maybe that's why déjà vu exists, glitches in the reset process. Maybe that's why you feel like you've had this exact thought before. And here's the most terrifying part. What if this realization is the final stage of your programming? What if figuring it out is just another layer of the trap? Maybe the system allows you to question it because it knows you'll never escape. Maybe the moment you grasp the truth, it resets you, sending you back to the beginning, stripped of this knowledge, forced to start over in the same cycle, repeating endlessly. And maybe this isn't the first time you've realized it. Maybe it's already happened, and maybe it's about to happen again. Butterfly dream. You wake up. The room is dim, the morning light seeping through the blinds. You remember dreaming, but the details slip through your fingers like sand. Something about flying, something about feeling weightless and free. You shake off the grogginess, stretch, and go about your day. But as you brush your teeth, a strange thought creeps in. What if you never actually woke up? It's an idea as old as philosophy itself. Over 2,000 years ago, the Chinese philosopher Zhuangzi had a dream. He dreamt he was a butterfly, fluttering through the world without a care, drifting from flower to flower, feeling the sun on his wings. And then he woke up. Or did he? Because in that moment, a terrifying realization struck him. What if I am not a man who dreamt I was a butterfly? What if I am a butterfly now dreaming I am a man? This is the butterfly dream paradox, and it's more than just an ancient riddle. It's a crack in the foundation of everything you believe to be real. Because right now, at this moment, you assume you are awake. You assume that yesterday happened, that your memories are reliable, that the world around you is stable. But what if it's all part of the dream? You've experienced dreams that felt completely real before. In them, you were certain you were awake. You had thoughts, emotions, even memories. But then you woke up, and they all dissolved into nothing. Now consider this. What if that moment of waking never comes? How would you ever know? Reality feels real only because you have nothing to compare it to. But if you were in a dream right now, a dream that has lasted your entire life, you would have no frame of reference to question it. And if that's the case, then who are you, really? If all you are is a collection of thoughts, sensations, and memories, and those can exist just as easily in a dream, then how can you be certain there is any difference between dreaming and waking at all? You might think, well, dreams fade. This doesn't. But how do you know that? Maybe each night, when you sleep, you aren't resting at all. Maybe that's when you actually wake up, back in some other existence you can't even comprehend. Maybe the reality you experience in sleep is the real one, and this is the fleeting illusion. Maybe you're not a person who has dreams. Maybe you are the dream, And if that's the case, who is dreaming you? Or worse, what happens when they wake up? But there's something even more terrifying hiding beneath this paradox. If you are simply a dream, then your thoughts, your fears, your identity, they're not yours. You are not thinking. You are being thought. Something else, some unknowable force, is imagining you into existence, and the moment it forgets, you will cease to be. Maybe that's already happened to countless versions of you. Maybe you wake up every day as a slightly different person, with a slightly different past, because you are nothing more than an idea, constantly rewritten by something beyond your understanding. Your life is not a solid, continuous thing. It is fluid, shifting, unknowable. Maybe every time you blink, the universe resets. Maybe every time you take a breath, everything behind you vanishes into oblivion. Maybe you have never been the same person for more than a second at a time. Maybe that's what waking up really means. And if so, then tell me this. Have you ever truly been awake? The only thing keeping you alive is luck. You're crossing the street, minding your own business. A car barrels toward you, but the driver glances at their phone at the last second, just enough for them to miss the light and slam their brakes in time. You never even noticed. You step onto the sidewalk, oblivious, carrying on with your day. It could have ended right there. A 2-second delay, a distracted driver, a gust of wind pushing you forward. Any of it could have been enough, but it wasn't. Not this time. This is the terrifying reality of your existence. The only thing keeping you alive is luck. You like to believe you're in control. You plan, you prepare, you think ahead. But none of that matters when a random blood clot forms in your brain, when a tiny mutation in your cells begins to spiral into something unstoppable, when a plane crashes through your bedroom ceiling in the middle of the night. Every second of your life is a gamble, and you don't even realize you're playing. Survival feels like something you've earned, through intelligence, caution, effort. But think about all the people who were smarter, safer, healthier than you. And still, they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. A child who never took a single risk. A scientist who made all the right choices. An athlete in peak condition. It didn't matter. It never does. You tell yourself that if you just avoid danger, you'll be fine. But luck doesn't care. You could be walking through your home, the safest place you know, when an aneurysm bursts in your skull, erasing your thoughts mid-sentence. You could take the same route you always do, only to find yourself next to someone who coughs at the wrong time, infecting you with something that shouldn't be deadly, but somehow for you is. And then there are the unseen moments, the dangers you were never aware of, the accidents that almost happened but didn't. Maybe someone once held a knife too tightly near you, and if their hand had twitched just a little more, you wouldn't be here. Maybe you once stood near a building, and if a brick had loosened a second earlier, you never would have had another thought. You will never know how many times luck saved you. But luck runs out. Every second you remain alive, you are rolling the dice, over and over again. Every heartbeat is another spin of the wheel. There are people who woke up this morning with no idea that today was their last. Someone out there is breathing their final breath as you listen to this. Not because they did anything wrong, not because they deserved it, just because the numbers weren't in their favor this time. So what makes you think you're any different? You have lived this long not because of your choices, not because of some grand plan, but because the chaotic, indifferent universe has simply not picked you yet. That's all. Not yet. And that's the most unsettling part, because you can't prepare for luck. You can't predict when your last ordinary moment will turn into the end. You could try to be cautious, never take risks, but that won't stop the infinite number of random, uncontrollable factors that have the power to snatch you away in an instant. Your entire existence is a cosmic accident that keeps being extended by sheer chance. And if that doesn't scare you, it should, because one day your luck will break, the dice will land the wrong way, the final silent moment you never saw coming will arrive. And when it does, you'll realize something horrifying. There was never a reason why it wasn't you. The outsider. You've always felt different. Not in the way everyone says they do. Not in that shallow, self-indulgent way people claim uniqueness. No, you know you don't belong. There's an invisible boundary between you and the rest of the world. Conversations feel like foreign scripts. Social interactions like a play where everyone else got the script except you. You mimic, you perform, but deep down, you feel like a visitor in a world not meant for you. Maybe you've always felt this way. Maybe you only started noticing it recently. But now the realization is inescapable. You are outside of everything. And here's the worst part. You can't tell if it's them or you. Are you the only one awake in a world of sleepwalkers? Or are you the defective one, incapable of slipping into the comforting delusion that everyone else seems to embrace so effortlessly? The more you think about it, the more horrifying the question becomes. If the world is insane, then at least you have clarity. But if you are the broken one, then you are utterly alone in your madness. This is the curse of the outsider, the one who sees the cracks in reality, who stands at the edges of existence and feels like a ghost. You watch people build their lives on assumptions, on unspoken rules, on traditions and rituals they never question. They chase careers, relationships, and dreams as if these things hold real meaning. And you see through it. You see the absurdity, the artificiality. But what does that leave you with? If their world is a lie, then what are you living for? Maybe you tried to join them once. Maybe you thought you could force yourself into their rhythm, move to their music, laugh at their jokes, care about the things they care about. But no matter how well you played the part, you always felt like an actor in someone else's film. And when the performance exhausted you, when you stepped away from the stage, you were left with nothing but silence. Some outsiders embrace it. They become hermits, philosophers, cynics. They lean into the alienation, sharpening their minds like weapons against the illusion. Others break under the weight of it. They either force themselves back into the dream or find other ways to escape. And then there are those who exist in limbo, neither fully asleep nor fully awake, forever caught in the space between. And what about you? You who feel the cold distance between yourself and the rest of humanity. You who watch them live their lives as if everything makes sense. You who wonder if you are the only one who sees the void beneath it all. There is no easy answer for you, no comforting resolution. You can keep searching for meaning, hoping that one day you'll stumble upon something real. Or you can accept the truth that has haunted you for so long. You are alone, not because people reject you, not because you're misunderstood, but because you see. And once you see, you cannot unsee. There is no place for you inside the illusion. There never was. And the most terrifying part, no one else even notices. Infinite copies of you are suffering. You feel safe, don't you? Right here, in this moment, in this body. You are you, singular and whole, the only version of yourself that exists. You might be struggling, but at least it's just this version of you, right? What if that wasn't true? What if, right now, there were infinite versions of you, and most of them were suffering in ways you couldn't even imagine? Somewhere out there, another you is gasping for air in a hospital bed. Another is trapped in a collapsing building. Another is screaming for help, buried alive. Another is alone, forgotten, abandoned. And here you are, blissfully unaware. The idea of the multiverse is simple. For every decision, for every possibility, another universe branches off. Another you comes into existence. But probability is not kind. If you take all the pain and horror of existence and spread it across infinite realities, the odds are not in your favor. Most versions of you are not living peaceful, happy lives. They are screaming, dying, wishing for it all to end. And that's not even the worst part. Somewhere, right now, there is a you experiencing suffering so incomprehensibly awful that, if you were to remember it, you would go insane on the spot. Think about the worst pain you've ever felt: a broken bone, a deep wound, a loss so heavy you could barely stand. Now multiply that pain by infinity. In some reality, a version of you has been trapped in an endless nightmare of agony. A reality where pain never stops, where death never comes, where hope is a myth. A prison universe designed only to torment you. And you will never hear their screams, but they are there, right now, living through suffering that should be impossible. Maybe you think, that's not me, that's just some version of me. But tell me, what makes this version of you so special? If infinite copies of you exist, why should this one be the lucky one? The truth is, you aren't. This reality you're in. It's just another branch, another possibility. You think you're safe, but infinite suffering means infinite chances for this life to turn into something worse. At any moment, you could become one of the other copies. One wrong step, one twist of fate, and you are the one suffocating, burning, falling, screaming. And when that happens, the version of you that is safe, sitting here, listening to this, will forget. They will think they are the lucky one, and so it continues, endlessly. You have no control over your thoughts. Think of a number, any number, got it. Good. Now ask yourself, why that number? Why not another? You might say, I chose it. But did you? Really? Did you reach into some internal control panel and select it? Or did it simply appear in your mind, uninvited? Try again. Think of any random word. Maybe it's ocean, or glass, or hunger. Whatever it is, did you decide to think of it? Or did it just surface, like a bubble rising from the depths? Here's the unsettling truth. You don't control your thoughts. They happen to you. They emerge from nowhere, unfiltered, unrequested, unstoppable. You might argue, but I can choose what I think about. Can you? Try to stop thinking entirely. For just 10 seconds, clear your mind. No words, no images, no noise. You failed. Something slipped in. A sound in the background. A stray memory. The thought, don't think of anything, which is still a thought. Even when you try to silence your mind, it keeps going, whispering, intruding, filling the void against your will. Now, let's go deeper. Think of a painful memory, one that still lingers. Maybe it's something embarrassing, something tragic, something you wish you could erase. You don't want to think about it, but here it is. It appeared the moment I mentioned it. And if I told you to forget it right now, you couldn't. That's the cruelty of your own mind. It dredges up thoughts you never asked for. It replays old wounds, injects fears, constructs scenarios that never happened but feel real. It torments you, makes you anxious, keeps you awake at night, and you have no way to stop it. Try to predict your next thought. Try to decide, right now, what you're going to think next. You can't. It will come when it wants, in whatever form it chooses. Your brain is not your servant. It is a machine running on autopilot, producing a constant, uncontrollable stream of ideas, images, and emotions. You don't create your thoughts, you witness them. And sometimes, they are terrifying. A violent impulse, a sickening idea, a disturbing image flashing through your mind, making you question yourself. You didn't ask for it, you don't want it, but it's there. And the more you try to push it away, the stronger it clings to you. If you were truly in control of your thoughts, you could delete them, erase the painful ones, suppress the unwanted ones, think only of what brings you peace. But you can't. Your mind is an unrelenting storm, and you are merely caught in it. And if you are not the one controlling your own thoughts, who is? What force is feeding these ideas into your consciousness? Are you just an observer in your own head, a helpless passenger in a body that runs on instincts and illusions. You assume you are you, that you direct your mind, that you steer the ship. But if you are not the one creating your thoughts, then what exactly are you? Just a flicker, a ripple, a phantom made of memories, sensations, and voices that are not your own. A story told inside a skull. You never had control. You never will. Your mind thinks you into existence. And one day, when the thoughts stop, so will you. Sound of falling tree. You are walking alone through a dense, fog-laden forest. The air is thick with silence, save for the occasional rustling of leaves. Then, somewhere in the distance, a tree begins to fall. You don't see it. You don't hear it. You weren't even aware it existed, and yet it crashes down with a force that should shake the earth. But did it really make a sound if no one was there to hear it? This is more than just a thought experiment. It's a question that erodes the very foundation of reality itself. Because if sound, the thing you think of as an undeniable, objective truth, depends on someone being there to perceive it, then what else does? If no one is watching, does the sun still rise? If no one remembers you, did you ever really exist? The problem seems simple at first. Sound is just vibrations traveling through air. If a tree falls, the vibrations are there. But if there are no ears to receive them, no mind to process them, does sound truly exist? Or is it nothing more than an illusion, something that only comes into being when we are there to witness it? And then the question grows darker. If a moment is not observed, does it happen at all? If reality requires a witness, then how much of the universe has simply blinked in and out of existence, unobserved, unrecorded, unreal? Every inch of the cosmos that no conscious mind has laid eyes on. Has it ever been real? The vast, infinite stretch of space, the stars light years away, the unseen corners of the earth. Do they exist when no one is looking? Now turn this question inward. If no one perceives you, do you still exist? If the world forgets you, if your name is never spoken again, if every trace of you is erased from memory, then what are you? If your entire identity, your joys, your fears, your regrets, exists only in the fragile minds of others, then you are nothing more than an echo, waiting to fade. And once you are forgotten, it will be as if you never existed at all. And what about death? When you die, the world will continue, indifferent and unshaken. But for you, it won't. Your perception ends, and as far as you are concerned, everything ceases to exist. Just as the tree's sound depended on an observer, the universe depends on you. You are the only proof of reality that you will ever have. And when you go, so does everything else. Maybe this isn't just about sound. Maybe the world is just a sound waiting to be heard. Maybe the universe is just a story waiting to be told. And maybe, in the end, it's all just silence. And if that silence stretches forever, if the universe is only real when we observe it, and you are the only observer that has ever mattered to you, then what does that mean for everything that came before and everything that will come after? What happens to a reality with no one left to witness it? You assume the world existed before you were born, but how do you know? You trust the books, the stories, the evidence of history, but you didn't see it happen. You assume the world will go on after you die. But once you are gone, how will you ever know if it does? In the end, maybe reality is no more solid than a ripple in a pond, real only as long as someone is there to see it, hear it, feel it. And once the last observer is gone, the ripples fade, the echoes die out, and nothing remains. The tree falls. You weren't there to hear it, so maybe it never made a sound. Maybe it never existed at all. You will die in a way you can't predict. You've probably imagined your death before, maybe in an abstract way, old age, a hospital bed, slipping away peacefully, Or maybe your mind has wandered to something darker, a car crash, a plane malfunction, a sudden heart attack. But no matter how many scenarios you run through, no matter how much you try to predict it, one thing is certain: you're wrong. Because the way you will actually die is something you haven't thought of yet, and you won't see it coming. Right now, you're moving toward an ending that is already written, yet completely unknown to you. Maybe it's seconds away, maybe it's decades, but it's there, waiting, hidden in the countless tiny decisions you make every day. A wrong turn, a skipped meal, a handshake with the wrong person. Each choice nudging you towards something you never considered. Think about it. A man wakes up, goes through his usual morning routine, gets in his car, and drives to work. He does this every day. But today, an accident happens, a freak occurrence, a loose bolt in someone else's engine, a fraction of a second where everything aligns in just the wrong way. He never made it to work. Did he see it coming when he brushed his teeth? When he locked his front door? When he adjusted the rearview mirror? Of course not. He thought today was just another day. And so do you. Maybe you assume you'll have warning signs, a doctor's diagnosis, a moment of realization that something is wrong, but that's not how it works. The body is fragile. Brains rupture without symptoms. Hearts stop in the middle of laughter. Something deep inside you could already be failing, and you wouldn't know it until the moment it's too late. Or maybe it won't be your body at all. Maybe it'll be something so absurd that it feels like fiction. A stray bullet from miles away. A microscopic organism, an undiscovered mutation, something we don't even have a name for yet. Maybe it'll be an accident so bizarre that people will shake their heads when they hear about it, muttering, "What are the odds?" The odds? They don't matter. You don't get to roll the dice. And if you think you can predict it, if you think you're safe because you've planned, because you've taken precautions, because you've lived carefully, tell that to the people who are simply standing in the wrong place, at the wrong time. The ones who followed all the rules, only for a freak event to rewrite their ending. It's not just about when you'll die. It's about the how. The fact that there is a scenario waiting for you, and you are blind to it. It could be in the most ordinary of places, at the grocery store, at home, in bed. You could be laughing at a joke, mid-sentence, feeling perfectly fine, when suddenly it happens. No final moment of reflection, no time to understand. Just the cold, mechanical certainty of something that was always going to happen. And here's the part that should truly shake you. Someone else already knows how you're going to die. Not a person, not a god, but the universe itself. The gears are already in motion. The variables have already aligned. Your death is out there, waiting, patiently. And one day, you will arrive. One day, the unknowable will become known. The mystery of your death will be solved in real time, and you won't even have a second to process it. And then, silence. A silence you never expected. A silence you never saw coming. A silence that was always meant for you.